Peter, thank you very much for coming in. We have got the final book to show you, quite literally just in from the binders, just in time.
Splendid.
So, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. Let's have a look at the...
Yes, it's obviously by Lemuel Gulliver.
Yes, very nice.
Not by this Jonathan Swift man.
Very good choice and very tasty label indeed. It is marvellous. Beautiful spine.
It's lovely. The calligraphy has come out brilliantly.
Yes, that's Stephen Raw, isn't
Yeah.
it? Could sit and look at that all day.
And there's your binding.
Yes, lovely.
I really think it looks fabulous. The whole scale, the way that Gulliver is at once big and small, it's perfect, I think. That's what Swift plays with so beautifully. The whole concept of perspective, how Gulliver's viewed as a kind of pet just because he's small.
Yes, well, the perspective is not only physical, it's also historical, temporal in the other books.
Yes,
So
yes.
arguably perspective is, I don't know about the key, it's one of the keys to the whole book. Yeah.
Well, and if I can just get you to see your wonderful end papers.
Yes, lovely.
These were printed letterpress, and I mean this really is a perspective play, isn't it?
It looks very handsome indeed.
It's great. I was going to show you one of my favourite scenes. I think probably the most iconic scene of Gulliver's Travels,
Yes.
the one everyone thinks of. Tell me a bit about how you did this, how you approached it.
Well, you're right, it is one of the most well-known scenes. I had read the first book as a child.
Yes.
Usually, obviously for children, it is only the first book, which is a bit of a shame. Oh, they couldn't cope with the whole thing.
Yes.
But the first book is presentable to children, and particularly because of this tied-down image, it appeals to the imagination. And the pegging down of the hair, I haven't seen an illustration done from
Above.
a bird's eye view before, but having thought of the pegged out hair and its radial nature and its suggestion of a halo, the best way to see that is from above.
Yes.
And it also involves the idea of Gulliver being a gull.
Yes, being the fool.
Yes, and in this instance, a holy fool.
All the illustrations are tipped in onto the frame. Yes. You designed the frame as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of the traveller.
Yes,
seashells.
marine. It was a marine motif for the golden frames, which have come out very nicely.
Yeah, they look lovely.
Yeah.
And one of the things I particularly liked, one of my favourite illustrations, was where you looked at something that I found quite hard to visualise in the book. You don't shy away from those difficult bits. So you've written these phrases on them that are connected to either the book or themes or
they're connected
Swift's life.
to the story in the book, or to Swift's life, or to 18th century politics, or to misanthropy in general. There are a lot of
his promiscuity.
Yes, and stealing and vice and filth and fraud.
Lubricity, good word.
And there are things about Swift's life, Moor Park, for example, which is near Farnham, where he lived for a while, working for Sir William Temple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and you've got Vanessa and Stella, and they were the young women he was in love with.
The two Esthers.
Yeah.
And Swift's relationship with them is very ambiguous.
The final illustration, which, I mean, to me really sums up what you've just been saying, because you've encapsulated a huge amount that Swift is saying very simply in one image. I find it very poignant because although it's a comic work and it's a satire, I mean, Gulliver is kind of broken by his experiences at the end. He doesn't want to leave the land of the whinnims, which I think is meant to sound like a horse's neigh when you say it. And when he comes home, all humans seem like yahoos to him, even his own wife and children, which is very sad. And you've presented him, I think, very poignantly at that moment. And this is one of the illustrations which changed from your original drawings to the final illustration. And I wondered if we could just talk through some of those changes, because I think they're very interesting.
Yes, originally I had as a sort of Kunstkabinet of things from his voyages. There's an interesting collection of them.
Yes.
Lots of things are lost on the way, but certain little objects get back to England.
And you had this giant ring hanging behind his head, like a halo that kind of connects.
Which I dropped.
Yes.
As indeed I did the Kunstkabinet for compositional reasons.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yes. Yeah.
So one of my chief interests in the whole game is this pull between the flatness of it being a picture, flat surface, and the fact that inescapably when you mark a surface, depth is suggested.
Yeah.
And if you're drawing in a representational fashion, then depth is obviously highly present. So there's this pull between the space and the flatness of it.
Well, and it does indeed then end up having that sort of iconic symbolic value. That I think what's changed here is that he's become more alone by getting rid of the kind of the homely clutter of a collector's cabinet. He's become more isolated. You change the doorway to a window, which makes him even more disconnected from the warmth of the outside scene.
Yep.
And I mean, I think it's the kind of the perfect symbolism that he's left holding a wasp sting, the wasps who attacked him in Brobdingnag. It's literally poisoned, isn't it?
It
poisoned.
Is. It's the sting in the tail of the set of pictures.
Yeah.
There's a reference here to the famous title page in Hobbes' Leviathan.
Which Swift would have known.
Yes?
Right,
certainly. Right. Well, I freely confess it was a pictorial reference rather than a deeply thought out intellectual one. Humanity's position between Yahoos and Winims.
Sort of brutality and ultimate reason.
Yes, although the merit, if you like, of the Winims is disputable, isn't it?
Yes, I don't think Swift means us to like them. They're not very... They're not warm and cuddly horses.
They're emotionless.
Yes.
They are rational. I'm not sure that they're noble. And
No.
I don't think you can be noble without the suffering that all creatures have.
Gulliver at the end, he wants to go off and live alone on an island. He wants to renounce humanity completely. And the person who picks him up is a very kindly, noble individual. And I think Swift was telling us something very important about... But of course he didn't tidy it all up. He left it so that individual readers could make their own judgment. And I think that's what art does. I think particularly, Peter, that's what your art does here. So thank you from all of us for making these pieces of art.
You're most welcome. It was a very great pleasure and it has come out absolutely beautifully.
I'm so pleased you think so.